Hello everybody, I'm John Roberts, he's Josh Tucker. This is Racing to Real Estate. We got the latest NASCAR and real estate news coming your way, plus one of the greatest, most positive stories the racing community has ever heard. And Racing to Real Estate starts right now.
Welcome everybody to Racing to Real Estate. I'm Josh Tucker. This is my co-host John Roberts, and we are here for episode 3 already of Racing to Real Estate. So hope everybody has enjoyed it. We thank you for tuning in. We are coming to you from the Duckworths Studio. We are located in Anchor Real Estate's offices in Mooresville, North Carolina. We encourage you to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Obviously, our shows are on YouTube, also on iTunes, so make sure you subscribe and watch there. And ask us questions using hashtag R2RE.
Any questions go. This is not the witness protection program. We're not hiding. We want you guys to join us, and we like to have a lot of fun and some special guests along the way. If you've never heard Doug Herbert's story, you need to stick with us. This is one of the greatest stories anywhere in the racing community, and it's just getting better every day. So we're going to have that for you shortly.
Yeah. So we're excited to have Doug on the show today. So that will be a lot of fun. 4-time NHRA champion.
Yep.
So that's really exciting. Look forward to talking to him about that. So John, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk a little real estate.
Yep. Absolutely.
Just kind of a little market
business,
update. Yeah, a little business. What's going on out there. One thing that kind of caught my eye this week, as you know, I'm in the board of directors for the association, our local association here in our MLS. And I was in a board meeting this week, and most of that stuff is obviously confidential, but what I'm getting ready to say isn't. The stat was ran by me that our local MLS, which is Carolina's MLS, and I call it local, it's actually regional, it's growing pretty big. But the stat came to me that there are now over 15,700 subscribers to the MLS, and that our viewers out there might be looking at me saying, Josh, why are you telling us this? We don't really care. But to me, that's a big number, and that just means that in our market, in our regional area, over 15,000 members that are selling real estate.
Yeah,
that's a big number, and how it factors into our viewers is that means there's a lot for them to choose from.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. But it also is a really good sign of the times. When there's a lot of real estate agents, it means the market's booming. Because if there wasn't business out there to do, there wouldn't be the agents. And also, we go through a lot of continuing education, and when we go into these classrooms, we can tell how the market's going simply by looking at the number of agents that are in these classrooms, and it's a good sign of the time. You know, Just we said it on our first 2 editions of Racing to Real Estate, but it's important to note the economic growth right now in our country is at about 4.2%. Unemployment is at about 4%. When those 2 numbers are in that relationship, in that ratio, it means times are good. So we have 2 really good pieces of economic news to bring you right off the bat.
Yeah. So lots of subscribers. The economic news is good. Obviously, we talked about it in episode 1. We're in an extreme shortage of inventory, so that kind of all plays into the same hand. One thing that also stuck out to me as far as the number of subscribers that we've grown to, does it make it harder for buyers and sellers to pick an agent? You know, it becomes a situation where
supply and demand.
Yeah, and you've got
agents too.
Now where, maybe 5 or 8 years ago, when we only had half the subscribers, 7,000, maybe the average person only knew 3 or 4 agents.
Yeah.
And now they've got 8 or 10 friends or family members that are agents, and it kind of makes it difficult. The one thing I always caution people is don't always feel like you have to have a family member or a friend to do your real estate business.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can slow things down or create some...
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that we look at in marketing is what's called the niche or the area. You need to be an expert in your area. We feel like we are experts in the Lake Norman, Mooresville area. We spend all our time here. We spend all day long because, admittedly, me and Josh are crazy people. We will be researching markets at 10 o'clock at night because it interests us. So find the person that's the right one for you. Now you have the opportunity to go out and choose. And so we're not telling you, if you want to buy a mountain property in Pulaski County, Virginia, we're not the right people for you. You know, find the one that's the right thing for you. And again, Josh makes up a really good point. You know, this is a big thing for most people. The house is the biggest investment they have. So, yeah, you might have the brother or brother-in-law, sister-in-law, or somebody that you feel that you're kind of obligated to use. But just make sure that person's going to represent you the right way. They're going to have the knowledge and the experience to take care of. And also, when you're on the seller side, to market your property.
Yeah. So that's very important.
Yep.
You know, marketing of the property, obviously very important. Shifting gears a little bit, staying with real estate though. We Anchor Real Estate. When I say we, I mean Anchor Real Estate. We launched a new listing this week. Yep. Pretty excited about that. We named this listing North Point. Mm-hmm.
Somewhat north in our area of expertise.
Yeah, and that name came from the sellers, actually. They actually called this home North Point. 73-acre estate up in Statesville, North Carolina. So we're pretty excited to bring that to the market. And we've done some really cool marketing, talking about marketing for sellers. We've done some really cool marketing for that listing.
Yeah, because we looked at the place and it has a legacy. You know, it's been handed down from generation to generation. So we wanted to put that in the marketing of it. And we thought that we involved the family themselves, the owners of the house and their family, in the marketing video. And also another thing about this property, and you'll see it in the marketing, there's a pond and a gazebo, and they have had weddings there before, and they had this huge outbuilding that's beautiful. It's more than an outbuilding. It's it's climate controlled and everything. This property has the opportunity for somebody to hold events there. You got your 73 acres. You got your main house where someone could very easily live with a fairly good-sized family, but you have the opportunity with the privacy, the pond, the gazebo, and where it is to host any kind of weddings, family reunions. If a buyer was looking for something like that, this would be right up their alley.
Yeah, and we call it a pond. It's a multi-acre pond.
Yeah, it
kind of feels like a lake.
It's
it has
close
a private
to the lake.
dock.
Yeah,
so you could certainly put a paddle boat or something out there to have some fun.
And more fish.
Yeah,
we got a video of the fish too.
Yeah,
we'll
have
show you that
video,
too.
A lot of fish in the pond. So just a great listing. We're really excited about that. In the video that we did, as you talked about the generations of family.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, check it out. It's at anchorre.com. Also, our Anchor Real Estate YouTube channel. People can go to that and find that video. But just a really fun project so far to work on, and we're looking forward to finding the right buyer for that place.
Yeah, exactly, because a real one-of-a-kind property, and we're not really exaggerating when we say one place has it all. It's got a beautiful house, beautiful updated house. It's got tons of privacy. Endless potential, and also that Morton building out there. We call it a Morton building, and that's kind of, it's almost like, Josh, when you say no one ever has a facial tissue, you have a Kleenex. No one uses lip balm, you use chapstick.
Right, right.
Morton building, is that's up there in brands of these outbuildings of how they're built.
It is, yeah. Morton's been around for a long time. I don't know all the details of their history. I know I've heard their name dropped a lot of times on buildings, so I know they're very solid. I know they've been around for a while. They produce a very quality building. That is who this building is manufactured by, and just a beautiful building. It's got a little. I would call it, they call it the boardroom. I think the sellers do.
The boardroom.
It has a full bath in there and a little kitchenette area, so possibly it could be a little casita or a little guest room maybe for somebody. And then the front half of the building is also heated and cooled, which is really good for, if you store classic cars in there or something like that you don't want in the elements.
Very clean.
Yeah, very clean building, very clean property overall. Just, you can tell it's one that the sellers have over the years taken care of, had a lot of pride in. It'll be a fun project to work on for sure.
Okay, well, we promised you a very special guest today. That's Doug Herbert. He's coming up in just a moment, but right now, let's get a quick word from our sponsor, Duckworths. Duckworths Grill and Tap House is your neighborhood restaurant. Good food, good friends, a huge selection of craft beers on tap, not to mention the weekly and daily food specials. 5 locations in the Charlotte metro area. Make sure to go down and check out your local Duckworths. Want to welcome in a very special guest to Racing to Real Estate, Doug Herbert. Doug, thanks for coming in. We appreciate your time. Now, if you're not familiar with Doug's story, let's give you a little bit of background really quickly. There's 2 different ways people can handle tragedies. One you kind of crawl under a rock and forget all about it and try to go away. The other way is to face it head on and do something about it. Doug, you lost your two boys in a car crash, John and James. And in order to honor their legacy, you started the Brakes program. And if I can give a quick background, the Brakes program has touched 60,000 people, 43 states, 5 countries. And surveys and research studies show that if a kid goes through the Brakes program, and the parents as well, if you go through this program, you are 64% less likely to be involved in a car crash. So, Doug, tell us a little bit about the brain work that went behind this, how it came about, and when you guys decided to make this program so successful.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me over here to visit with you guys.
Anytime,
John,
man.
Yeah,
Anytime.
I mean, you're my buddy, and we don't get to see each other enough, so
Not
we
enough.
need to change that a little bit.
This is a great double whammy.
So Brakes, but to bring the listeners up to speed, initially my goal was to train my boys' friends about being safer drivers. I didn't know when they got in the car crash back in 2008 that car crashes are the number one thing that kills teenagers.
Wow.
And in 2008, more teenagers died in car crashes than the next 4 things put together.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Obviously we love cars. I love cars, racing cars, driving cars my whole life.
Yeah.
And then to find out that was the thing, I didn't really have a clue because they don't tell you that, which is a little bit amazing. You'd think when you go to driver's ed, first thing they would tell the kids and the parents that when they sign up, hey, driving is the number one cause of death here. This is a big problem. Make sure you don't cut corners. Drive with your kid. All that. But they don't.
You're right. And and thinking back, I mean, I've been driving for I don't want to say how many years.
A few.
But you're right. I mean, they don't really cover that kind of stuff in drivers. They teach you how to parallel park and they teach you how to use your turn signals and what the signs mean, but they don't really talk about the other parts.
Right. Unfortunately, it's turned into a business, right? Driver's ed is a business.
Yeah.
Most of them are operated privately. Some of them are still government, which is probably a little better, but most of them are private.
Yeah.
And you pay a fee, and they put you through, and their whole goal is to get you on the road.
Yep, and there you go.
Yeah, and off you go, and then their job is done, and down the road they go.
And I think almost everybody, we're all guilty of this a little bit. People think they're kind of bulletproof. They don't really realize what you're doing when you're in a car, the physics of how this thing is moving along, and your body's in it. When the car stops, your body keeps going.
Your body keeps going. Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's just so important. So what Brakes is number one, not driver's ed. Brakes is not driver's ed. We don't teach teenagers how to drive. We're teaching them how to be defensive drivers, how to be safe drivers, how to really manage situations that they're going to come across on the road. So whether it is running off the side of the road.
Yeah.
Everybody's done that lives in a rural area. You run off the side of the road either because you're changing the radio station or sometimes it just happens. You're looking down the road and your wheel drops off the side. That's the number one cause of fatal crashes in North Carolina. Wow. Actually, South Carolina, Georgia, every rural state. That's the number, because you go off, you overcorrect, and you either go into the ditch or you go across and hit some traffic head on. That's the number one thing. So we do that at this class. We run them off the road. We teach them how to bring the car back on, what to do. Number one, don't panic. Number two, get your foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah.
Number three, look for if the road is dropped off and it comes up a little bit, 100 feet up. No big deal. There's all that stuff.
Priceless experience to have. And Josh, Tracy, my wife Tracy, and I, we took our daughter through, and part of the thing is you got to have the parents come in there too. And some of the things, it's not just the physical stuff on the road also, but one of the great instructors, the volunteer instructors, that a lot of them were professional drivers, they took us and they put us in the car. We sat in the car and he said, okay, adjust your mirrors. So we adjust our mirrors. I adjust them completely wrong. We couldn't see anything.
How you thought it was right.
Yeah, how I thought it was right. And it's no. So you can, it's not just the kids, it's the parents, and it's not just the physical driving part. It's just everything all-inclusive about how to be safe behind the wheel.
Yeah. Well, that's the fact is teenagers, they know how to drive before they ever start driving, because guess what? They've been watching us as
mom and dad,
for 15, 16 years. So have we been doing a good job showing them?
Let's hope.
Not? Yeah. Unfortunately, most parents, haven't taken any kind of driver's ed in 20 years or whatever, and then they've got their teenager. Well, things are different now. Now, it used to be a horn button in the center of the steering wheel. Now it's an airbag that comes out at 200 miles an hour. So your hand position is important.
Right.
I still got 8-track tapes in my car.
Yeah. In your 77 Trans Am.
Yeah. So Doug, walk me through this program. Is this like a 1-day event?
It's a half a day. It's a half a day program.
And do you... This isn't on an actual street, I assume, right? Do you set up in a parking lot somewhere? Or
we set up, normally at racetracks because, I have connections with racetracks. But here in Charlotte, we do it at the Charlotte Motor Speedway at the ZMAX Dragway in the pit area. This last weekend, we had classes in Topeka, Kansas at Heartland Motorsport Park. So same thing, pit area. But we do stuff at fairgrounds. We do stuff anywhere where they have a big parking lot. Really is the critical thing.
And do you like set up cones and stuff that they?
Well, let me just tell you. So the class lasts for 4 hours. So the first part of the class is parents and teenagers come in and watch a presentation. The way that we start the class is we play a video. It's a pretty impactful. It was an NBC News video that was. It's pretty impactful. So there's, kids are talking. Nobody's paying much attention. Nobody gets up and says anything. We start the video, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the video, you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
Because everybody realizes why they're there, and somebody gets up there and says, "Hey, I'm Doug. This is Put on the Brakes. Thank you for being here. We're going to teach you about 45 minutes of classroom instruction, and then we're going to get you out there in the cars, and we're going to give you some real world behind the wheel instruction." So that's how it starts out, and that's how it goes. But it's 4 hours, but it's like drinking from a fire hose for 4 hours. It's a lot. It's a lot of information to take.
Doug, are you surprised with the success?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Like I said, I started out just wanting to teach my boys' friends how to be a little bit safer drivers, and then my phone started ringing. I was getting letters and calls from people saying, "Hey, I've got another kid. When are you going to do that again?" Well, maybe we'll do it again. So then we did it again, and then we did it again. So the first year in 2008, we trained 50 kids, and then we trained about 400 kids the next year. And then after that, it just kind of took off, and it turned into to its own thing instead of just being something that I was doing on. As a community service to my boys' friends, became, this is something that's really valuable, and every kid needs to go through this. Every parent needs to go through it, because some of the biggest aha moments that we have are with parents, because we have the instructors and the vehicles. Kia provides vehicles for us, so we have the instructors and the vehicles for parents as well as teenagers.
Yeah,
so
I was going to ask that. So it started out, and the main focus, and probably still is, about training teenagers how to react in certain situations. But have you seen a shift the bigger you grow to where it's a lot of adults now also taking the course?
Well, we make the parents come with their teenagers, so that's how the parents work.
And do the parents actually get behind the wheel and do some driving themselves?
Yep. Oh yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
They might not do it very well, but they do. Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the biggest aha moments are with parents.
Yeah.
Really.
I bet.
Just because of that same thing, they've never activated the anti-lock brakes, or they didn't even know what that meant. ABS, like they have no clue. Stability control, all the different things that are on cars now. Most parents are not aware of, but if they haven't taken some kind of a performance driving experience course in the last 10 years, they're just not going to know about it. So that is, and some of the things that we've been doing, obviously, the programs, people ask, how much does it cost? Well, it's free.
It's free.
That's wow. I didn't even know that.
It's a charity.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a charity.
Priceless yet free.
Right. So that was my thing, is I didn't want anyone to not come because of the cost. A similar program, if you go to Bondurant, they've got a great program, or BMW, they have a great program, and it's $800 to $1,000 for what we're doing.
Wow.
You come to Brakes, it's free, because it's about, just as John said, it's about getting other teenagers to be safer and more aware because of my boys, and I want my kids' lives to make a difference in other kids' lives.
Yeah, positivity at a tragedy. But on a much lighter note, someone who shall go unnamed, we're not going to name this person, deployed anti-lock brakes, and there's a fake person out there. Well, the person who was unnamed didn't do it right and hit the fake person. So here you are on a closed course, you hit this fake person, and you go through it again, and you do it right. So the next time you're out on the street, there's an injury or a life saved.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, good.
Well, the first time for most people that they've activated their anti-lock brakes, you hit the brakes, and the pedal shivers and the car makes noises.
Yeah.
And you know what the first thing you normally do when something happens? You
let off the brake.
Something's wrong. You let off. Well, you're in a panic situation. You're emergency. You need to stay on the brakes.
Yeah.
So, we're teaching them how to do that. And one of the ways that we teach teenagers how to do that is we give them little acronyms. ABS brakes, analog braking system. Everybody knows that. Well, kids don't want to know that. They don't care about analog braking systems. But we tell them, ABS brakes, forget analog braking system. It means ability to brake and steer. And they go, oh, ability to brake and steer. That makes sense to them.
Yeah.
When we're in the car and we're teaching them about skid control, we teach them CPR. And they're like, okay, CPR, yeah, I know that. No, not that CPR. This means correct, pause, and recover. And they go, oh, CPR. So they think of that. And we get letters and emails from kids and parents every day, and they say, hey, something I learned in that class kept me out of a crash.
Wow.
So that it's very rewarding.
Yeah. We were walking with Doug at the NHRA event at Charlotte maybe, 2-3 years ago, Doug? A young lady comes running up and hugs Doug and says, I really feel because what I learned in the brakes class either saved me from getting in a wreck and could have saved my life. And it was one of those moments, Doug. Me and Tracy got a little choked up to see that. And I mean, these guys work and drive tirelessly all year long to put this on. But to see that young lady, Doug, that was something else, man.
And that happens. That's my therapy. Going to the class is really my therapy. I mean, I see kids coming in, their parents drag them. They're all pissed off. They don't want to be there. This is stupid. I already took driver's ed. I've been driving for a year. I don't need this. I don't want this. And then within about 3 hours, it's like a transition. And then that same kid leaves with their arm around their mom or dad saying, this was awesome. I'm sorry I was such a jerk this morning. I had no idea how cool this was going to be. Do you know one of my instructors is a Secret Service person, and my other instructor was a movie stunt driver on TV. It's like it transitions teenagers into not only giving them skills but giving them ability to make better decisions, and I think also getting them to think about the consequences of not really driving right. When I talk to them, I mean, they know this is my story, and it's hard for me to watch that video, but I'm here because I want to make a difference with you, and it resonates with them. I think I think that's one reason why probably Brakes does a better job and have maybe better results than some of the other classes that teach probably the same exact thing as far as skills, but there's a personal part in it. And John knows. I mean, you and Jeff Hammond do our brakes gala every year, and
wonderful gala, wonderful thing
coming up pretty soon, right?
Yeah,
is it
coming up? Yeah, we're coming up October 12th.
October 12th, we're ready to go.
Yep, we've got the band Caliente coming. Felix Abadas is basically he's throwing a party. Doug, I'm going to help you.
That's all. You need
Felix
to say.
says, Doug, I'm going to help you raise some money for the charity, and that's what we're doing. So we're going to have some money.
We've seen it. It's got a lot of headlines, of course. When it's kind of just the way our media works in this world. Recently, with all the floods in North Carolina, we've seen a lot of publicity of people giving and helping people out. But, Doug, we've seen that over the last, 4 or 5 years now with this gala. We see that once a year, every year, of just people getting in there. And some of the keynote speakers you guys have had at this gala over the years have been just emotionally moving. And then by the time you get to the end of this whole thing, people are just digging in their wallets and saying, man, this is a great program. I want to give because it gets results. And again, 64%, a scientific study, 64% of the kids and adults that go through this program are less likely to get in that accident. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'd be happy if it was 1%. So 64%.
Exactly.
64.
Yeah, that probably is way over expectation, right? Well, we've only got a couple minutes left with you, Doug, and before we break, I want to spend just a couple of minutes and touch briefly on your NHRA career. I know just, in a little bit of things I know about you, you're a 4-time NHRA champion.
Well, I'm a 4-time IHRA Top Deal World Champion. I'm a 10-time NHRA National Event winner, 20-time IHRA National Event winner. Back in 25 years ago, everybody asked, well, who'd you race at IHRA? Well, Eddie Hill, Kenny Bernstein, Joe Motto, everybody.
Just those guys.
Everybody.
Just those guys, yeah.
I mean, the same guys raced,
both.
did both, both series. And it's kind of changed a little bit now. I think IHRA is not really doing anything except sportsman racing now. But it was, it was a big deal, and it was fun. So we could win at NHRA, or we could win it. You know, we could win wherever we win. It seemed like
Yeah.
it was fun. So we had a lot of fun doing racing. I was the second guy to go over 300 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
And that's something else,
pretty
isn't
cool.
it?
I'm sure you remember that like it was
Miles an hour.
yesterday. What track was that at?
That was at Pomona.
Pomona.
At Pomona. I grew up in Southern California, so Pomona was like, you know, that was my
was the
place. I
place.
remember hanging on the fence, you know, watching Shirley Muldowney and watching, you know, the Snake and the Mongoose McEwen and all these guys, and then to be able to go to Pomona and, you know, run 300 miles an hour and win the race. I won the race at Pomona. The only race I was ever at that I won that my dad was at Pomona. Which was so cool.
Yeah. And when was your last trip down the strip? When did you?
Well, my last year I raced full time was 2008, when the year that my boys were in the crash, and then I kept all my stuff and I kept racing. You know, I'd run it here at Charlotte or up at Bristol or something, because I loved racing at Bristol. I'm the winningest top fuel driver at Bristol.
All right,
Bristol history. So
very cool.
That's big.
We had fun racing there, and so you know, Jeff Bird ran the track up there. Everybody remembers Jeff was a super neat guy, and he'd always call me, Doug, are you coming to Bristol? Well, I wasn't coming. I don't really have, you know, any sponsor deal put together. Okay, I'm going to get you something. You know, we want you to be there. So I did that every year pretty much until probably 14 was the last year that I ran the car.
Yeah.
And you know, it's about like running a cup team. You can't go out there and run a couple races and be competitive.
Right?
And I've been fortunate enough to win at most of the tracks. I didn't need to go out there and just.
You had a great career. I mean,
I don't want to be Muhammad Ali, right? We're going to go down and just get the tar beat out of me for no reason. Right?
Exactly.
So you know, it was time to either do it full time or to not do it. And so, you know, motorsports in general has been tough the last few years to get sponsorship and so forth. So I just kind of let that go, got rid of that stuff. But I've been working on a car to go to the Bonneville Salt Flats. Been working on that for a while, and next summer we're going to go run the thing at the Bonneville Salt Flats.
That'll be really cool.
The world land speed record.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Real quick before you go, I know we're running a little late, but Doug, I just want to tell you my first experience at a NHRA drag race. So, you know, I kind of grew up around circle track racing and you know, raced some street stocks and then ended up racing modifieds in northern Indiana. And we raced our cars on alcohol. And, you know, I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm a badass, or at least I think I am. And so I'm used to the alcohol. And so my buddy said, hey, let's cruise down to the Summer Nationals in Indianapolis and go to the drag race. And I said, hey, man, that's no problem. I got this. You know, I've raced modifieds on alcohol. It's not going to bother me. And we get down to Indy, and I don't remember who it was whose car we stood behind when they were tuning up. And man, they burped the throttle on that thing, and that nitrous.
You jumped.
I jumped, and then I got a whiff of that nitrous. And I was done, man. I was crying like a baby.
Well, it's nitromethane.
Yeah.
Nitromethane.
Oh, my gosh. It took me for a loop real quick. So I found out I wasn't, you know, as much of a badass as I thought I was. But it was a great experience. And to stand there and watch, you don't understand 300 miles an hour in a quarter mile until you witness it in person. Right. So super cool. That was my first experience. I've been back. I've been to the Charlotte. I've been to Vegas. I've been to Indy a couple more times. So it's
you're practically on tour.
Yeah, practically on tour. Not quite, but it was enjoyable. But anyway, man, we appreciate you, Doug, coming on to the show. What you have done, putting on the brakes. What a phenomenal organization.
And Doug, as always, I'm so proud to call you a friend, my brother. You're the example in so many ways of what people should be like, man.
Well, you know, we know, just as you said at the beginning, we know people that have lost kids and they go into a hole and it ruins them. And I figured, you know what? I can't let that happen to me. I'm gonna make sure people know about John and James, and we're gonna change some lives, and that's what we've been able to do. And thank you for your help.
Successful at it.
So putonthebrakes.org is the website. People go there. If you've got teenagers or you're interested in seeing what we're doing, go check it out.
Right. Well, you guys don't go anywhere. Thanks again, Doug, for joining the show. We're going to take a quick break here from our sponsor, Anchor Real Estate, and then we are going to come back and talk a little NASCAR action. Anchor Real Estate is your boutique real estate company. Located in Mooresville, North Carolina, we emphasize personal relationships with cutting-edge marketing. Innovation through communication, we are Anchor Real Estate. Check us out at anchorre.com or follow us on social media. And welcome back, everybody. This is Racing to Real Estate, and what a phenomenal guest.
Yeah, what an amazing guy.
What an amazing guy, amazing story. Super excited that we had him on and that he was able to share his story. John, let's jump in. We did get a few fan questions again.
Okay.
So this
All right.
is exciting.
Good deal.
Our fans
appreciate
are
them.
engaging
Love that.
on our social media, our Facebook.
Hashtag R2RE, right?
You got it. Hashtag R2RE. You can also send us emails at racing2realestate@gmail.com. Send us messages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Any way you can think of to get a hold of us, do it. Ask us questions. We will do our best to get answers.
Get to say whatever you want to us, too.
Absolutely. So we did get a couple of questions, and the first one is from Jason in Columbia, South Carolina, and he had a question directly for me and then a question for you.
Okay.
So we'll start with yours, and he says, John, I'm a big fan of the race day show that you host. Do you ever go to the NASCAR races live, or do you always host from the studio in Charlotte?
Nowadays, it's Jason, right?
Jason.
Yeah, nowadays, Jason, we always do it from the studio. But for 10 years, we were at the racetrack. If you remember the old speed stage, we were up there with the fans all around us. And, the management at Fox decided it would just be a little bit more controlled, better show back in the studio. So we stay in the studio for the race day show. But if there's ever a possibility, myself, Josh, and my wife, Tracy, we always like to get to the racetracks because we love the sport.
Yeah.
And we love the people that are out there. And, you travel around with them for 10 years. You get to know a lot of good friends. Absolutely. So we always try to get to a local track if we can. But, yeah, as of right now and for the foreseeable future, we're in the studio.
Very cool. Very cool. And Jason's question to me was, Josh, what role did you play with the different NASCAR teams that you worked for?
Good question.
Yeah, so I covered that a little bit in episode 1, but I didn't really get into the roles. So I was in NASCAR for 10 or 11 seasons. I started out early on just as a regular mechanic, travel mechanic. Mm-hmm. I think it was about my third year I became a tire guy. So that's when I left Braun Racing. I went to Fitz Bradshaw Racing with David Strimmy. Mm-hmm. Randy Cox was our crew chief then, and he asked me to join them there as a tire guy. So I was a tire specialist for a year. Got to know a lot about tires and how they affect the car. That was probably one of my most informative years.
Yeah, big specialty. Very specialized work.
Yeah, learned a ton. I left there. I went to Roush as a car chief or a truck chief. So I spent some time on the Xfinity side, some time on the truck side. I left there. I went to the Roush Cup shop as a mechanic for Carl Edwards. I did also some stuff with Jamie McMurray and David Reagan. And then I left there and went to Hendrick as a mechanic as well and as a plate guy. So I set up the 88 cars in the shop. And then I was a travel mechanic for the 88 and the 48 only when they needed a fill-in person. So I went to a handful of races for one of those two teams. So most of my time spent in NASCAR was either as a tire guy for a year or a lot of years as a mechanic / car chief.
All right. Well, thanks for the question. Anybody else, man, hashtag R2RE, any one of the social media platforms, send us a question. Doesn't necessarily have to be about racing or real estate. You can ask anything you want.
We do have one more, John.
Oh, you got one more?
One more. This is from Gail right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and this is a real estate question. She says, I'm in the process of buying a new home. Should I get an inspection done before I close?
Absolutely 100%.
Gail, please
get an inspection. It can show a lot, and it also opens up the discussion in that due diligence period. That's what it's for, to get your inspections. And sometimes, we think we know a lot about a house when we go into it, but there's a lot you can't see. And inspections also, Josh, they tend to be really big. You might get 50 or 60, even more items.
Yeah.
And it's also a good idea as a buyer not to ask that everything.
Yeah, if it's a cosmetic
ask for the important stuff.
Yeah, if it's a structural repair or something like that, certainly you want the seller to address that. If it's cosmetic, some cosmetic things, it's not always in the best, to ask for those types of repairs.
Yeah, and don't get freaked out by the inspection. They're supposed to be very thorough. They're going to tell you everything that's potentially wrong with the house. Be your own person, be your own judge, and take the inspection, but it's absolutely you need to get.
Yeah, and I agree with John 100%. Get that inspection done. It's probably the best $500 or $600 that you'll ever spend.
Yep.
And definitely a good thing to do. So thank you for the questions, Gail and Jason.
Yep.
Keep them coming in. We love taking your questions. John, let's talk a little NASCAR, man. This is what we're here to do.
It's the racing part.
So Richmond, let's talk a little bit about Richmond. Obviously, Kyle Busch
comes from the back of the pack to win that thing. It tells you just how strong this team is, and that's why they were my prediction on anywhere. People are always asking for predictions. Who's going to win a championship when the playoffs start? And I said, I really think you better watch out for Kyle Busch and his team. They're hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, boy, they are. I'll tell you, and the big three, hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah.
We wouldn't expect any different, right? But I think they finished maybe 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I know Harvick was second,
But,
Kyle Busch won. I don't remember if Truex hung in for third or not, but obviously those three continue to lead the charge. Truex winning both stages. Once again, we see some pit road adversity throughout the race. We got a couple of penalties for the uncontrolled tire that we talked about with Greg last week. I think there were a couple of slow pit stops. I think at one point Keselowski lost 5 or 6 spots from a slower pit stop or an issue. But, those pit road penalties continue to plague some championship contending drivers.
Yeah, you got to look at this thing and how competitive the playoffs are. It's amazing to think that one or two. I mean, we talked to Kurt Busch about this a couple weeks ago, and he said, one hung up lug nut, one person. There's so many moving parts. Not only does it cost you a race or a couple positions on the racetrack, it can cost you a championship because, ask Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards lost to Tony Stewart by one position on the, that's a position on the racetrack, and that can be caused by a guy slipping, by an air gun not functioning exactly properly, or any number of other things. It's tough.
It is tough. Other thing, Kyle Busch, his 50th Cup win.
Big.
I think that's big. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know where that stacks up in terms of active drivers. It's got to be, obviously, Jimmy Johnson.
At least Jimmy would be ahead of him.
Would be ahead of him. I'm trying to think if there's other active drivers that would be higher. I don't think
no, not
is.
active.
Yeah, not active.
Not active.
And total number of wins, I think if you include his truck wins, his Xfinity, and his Cup wins now, I think he's in the low 190s, somewhere in that range.
Somewhere
I think I heard.
in there.
So,
and that is a legitimate stat. All those people out there who are saying, I only want to hear about Cup wins.
Yeah.
I want to hear about truck and Xfinity wins as well, because those are hard to come by too.
Absolutely, they are. And
you can't discount them.
You can't discount them, and they're part of the NASCAR's Big Three Touring Series.
Yep.
And they mean something, and they're tough.
It's
absolutely.
tough to get them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just an impressive career, short career so far for Kyle. He's still young.
A lot of racing left.
A lot of years left, so it'll be interesting to see how much more he can achieve. Anything else about Richmond that you noticed? I watched the race. I thought, it was kind of I think only one caution.
Yeah.
Besides the two
people
stage
tend to
cautions.
people tend to be pretty clean when you get in these playoffs, because the other guys, they don't want to push it. They don't want to be that guy who's outside the playoffs, causing a problem for a playoff driver, and they just tend to be a little clean. But we've seen, Josh, there's a reason that the top 16 are the top 16. There's a reason why they're there.
Yep.
I don't expect any big shakeups. I don't expect anybody that's lower that's going to go to the Roval and win. It's probably going to be one of the top guys. They're there for a reason, and they're that good for a reason.
Yeah, and I think the top 12 finishers Saturday night in Richmond were chase contenders.
Chase
or
contenders,
playoff contenders. Yeah.
And so they don't see a lot of shakeups. I'd like to.
Right.
You don't see a lot of shakeups.
No, you don't really. And but there's a reason they're in the playoffs.
They're there.
Right? They're
that good.
They're that good. They've been there all year. Overall, I thought it was a good race. I kind of like the Saturday night race, and I'll tell you why. Because it kind of freed up my Sunday to do some other stuff.
Yeah.
So I got to catch a Panthers game. I know we don't talk football on this show, and we're not going to start. I don't want to get on a soapbox, but it was cool to be able to watch the Panthers game and toggle back and forth between the Panthers game and watching Tiger Woods win the golf tournament this weekend. That was really cool.
That's weekends are all about sports.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was good. The Saturday night race was fun, and so we're moving on now from Richmond short track to the Roval. Mm-hmm. The Roval has been all the talk. What's going to happen at the Roval? Nobody knows. It's brand new. The surface is new. It's very slick. So
totally different. It's something totally different. So, again, I just think when you go to someplace different, you expect maybe some really different, shake-up type results. Mm-hmm. But, there's just a reason why these teams are the cream of the crop, why they're up there. And they, there's a reason why they are, because they're good and they will adapt and they will do better than most others on this new surface.
Yeah. So I think that'll be really interesting. 17 turns, I believe. Part of it's on the
big old fast straightaway.
Yeah, big fast straightaway. One of the corners is actually part of the racetrack.
Yeah.
So I envision they'll reach speeds well into the mid 150s or faster.
Oh, there's going to be time
all the
to
way
get up
down to probably 10 or 15 when they're going through them chicanes on the back stretch and stuff like that. So should be an interesting show. Xfinity cars are there as well.
Yep.
Right? And they're on the Roval, or are they on the regular track? I'm not 100% sure of that.
Sure. Better check that.
We'll have to check into that. But the Cup race definitely on the Roval. That will be exciting. That's a Sunday show, I believe, this time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I've had a lot of people ask, who should my favorite be for the Roval? And I don't really know what to tell them.
Don't really know.
If you had to say anything, I would say that, obviously Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski are in good shape because they're moving forward no matter what. So it probably takes some pressure off of them, which might allow them to be more competitive or take bigger risks at the Roval.
Take bigger risks because there's going to be some strategy.
Yeah. So maybe one of those two, since the pressure's off. Will be willing to take the risk, and that might.
Yeah, and if somebody else pushes too hard, if somebody else pushes too hard, but anyway, it's going to be a fantastic show, and that's going to be fun to talk about next week. The results.
It will be for sure. And just quickly, last week we talked about our 4 not to make the round of 12. My picks were Jimmy Johnson, Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman. Ironically, Jimmy and Eric still below the cut line. How's about, though, Austin Dillon? And you questioned me on this last week.
Yeah.
You kind of said, Josh, I disagree with your pick on Austin Dillon because he is consistent and he's got a way of being careful and finishing these races. And he did it at Richmond. Yeah. Gosh, I think the guy, I don't know where he finished. I know he was in the top 10.
Yep, he was in the top 10.
And he just, so now he finds himself 10 points above the cut line. So my pick, my picks obviously might not be exactly right. Alex Bowman also having a good race at Richmond. So he's in better shape now, 5 points above. And the two that I didn't have picked, that I did pick to go on that are below the cut line, obviously Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer.
Yeah.
Hamlin's in a bad spot. He's 29 points out. He almost needs to go to the Roval and win a couple of stages or win the race.
Or win the race.
To really have a realistic
position to be in.
Yeah, especially at the Roval.
Yeah, when you're in a position to have to win, that's tough.
Yeah, for sure. So quickly, Christopher Bell won the Xfinity race at Richmond. The trucks were off. Great to see Christopher win. So the 3 that won those races obviously advanced to the next level in the Xfinity series. So that's pretty exciting. I don't have much else NASCAR-wise, unless, John, you can think of anything.
So we're clear to close.
Yeah, well, just real quick before we go clear to close, a couple of rumors or announcements that came out this weekend. I think it's important to cover. Ryan Newman, the press conference at Richmond.
That's pretty well kept secret, actually, with Ryan. That was under the table.
There were some rumors out there, and we even talked about them on the show in the past couple of weeks, that Trevor Bayne may not return to the 6, or there were some rumors out there that seat was potentially open, but I don't think many people seen Ryan Newman going there until that announcement was made. So great for Ryan Newman. Curious to see where that puts Trevor Bayne for the future. And then it opens up the question of who goes in the 31 car. We haven't really heard a lot about that yet.
We haven't heard a peep.
We still haven't officially heard anything about the 1 car.
Nope,
with
not
McMurray.
yet. Not officially yet.
Not officially. It's still rumored that Kurt Busch is going to go there, but no announcements. And the same with the 95. Casey Kane retiring. No formal announcement on what's going on with the 95. We know Kurt Busch is looking at options. We know Daniel Suarez's name has been circulated.
They are free agents.
Martin Truex obviously is looking, and a lot of sources have him going to the 19. Daniel Hemrick is a name that I've been hearing thrown around there for a couple of these possibilities. Currently at RCR in the Xfinity Series, doing a great job.
Great job, great young man.
Yeah, and then McMurray. No word on McMurray if he stays looking for a full-time ride in NASCAR or does something different. But
so we should hear officially soon. And where there's smoke, there's fire.
That's right. So all exciting stuff overall. I think the NASCAR weekend was a good weekend. It was a fun race. It was exciting to watch.
And now
looking forward to the Roval. And now let's go clear to close.
So we want to once again remind everybody, we love to do this podcast here. It's a great time, or video podcast, however you want to call it.
Our show.
Yes, our show. But Racing 2 Real Estate, R2RE, is a full production company. We are available. You can use our studio and our equipment to do your own podcast. But also you can check out some of the videos we've done for marketing certain properties. We also have Matterport 3D scans we can do for you. So contact us for any of your video production needs that pertain to real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. And just quickly for me, I wanted to throw a shout out, John, and you're a part of this organization with me, but so John and I and John's wife Tracy, along with Greg Biffle and a few others, are all on the board of directors of Lake Norman Humane. We're a local nonprofit organization that helps foster and adopt dogs and cats. Last week we had a special week with Lake Norman Humane. We were able to help a lot of dogs and cats. I think 20 dogs, 20 cats. We sent a team down to Raleigh to pick these animals up. These are animals that were affected by Hurricane Florence. We got them back to our shelter last Tuesday. John was able to use a lot of his media contacts to have some people out there getting some attention for us at Lake Norman Humane. So that was a really exciting time, and it's always a pleasure to be able to help those animals that are in need and find them with good homes.
It's heartwarming.
Yeah. So that was fun. We got 2 closings this week, so we're excited about that. Both of them are NASCAR clients, so we continue to further our NASCAR ties and to real estate, which is great. And I want to end with this. I got just a 1-minute rant. And
feel free, rant away.
So this came up over social media over the weekend, and I'm not going to mention any names because I'm not trying to call anybody out, but this is a friend of mine. He, like me, was in racing for a long time. He got out of the sport. He started a small business. He's used his racing ties to grow his business, but he continually on social media bashes NASCAR. And this weekend it was about, Earnhardt Jr.'s car at Richmond being illegal because he went out and ran in one stages 1 and 2 and ran up front. So it's all planned by NASCAR. It's a big hoax. And man, I don't like that. This is a sport that allowed this particular individual an opportunity. I mean, this fed his family for years. And now he gets out of the sport and he still uses the sport to grow his small business, but he doesn't have anything good to say about it, and that strikes a nerve with me. I mean, if I understand everybody has an opinion, and people might not like certain decisions that NASCAR make, and it's okay to voice those opinions, but to go as far as saying NASCAR's letting Earnhardt Jr. do things to his car to run up front, I just don't agree with that.
I'm with you.
If it's be positive to a sport that's paved your way.
Yep. And be positive to a sport that does great things for great people all over the country.
Yeah. So that's my rant. We'll get off that soapbox, but hey, everybody, we appreciate you watching Racing to Real Estate. This is episode 3. Josh Tucker. This is our host, John Roberts, from the Duckworths Studio at Anchor Real Estate's offices in Mooresville, North Carolina. Thank you very much for watching.
So long.